And how has your own personal identity work led you to a warm demand or practice of dealing with students of color?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, from the beginning of my educational journey, the master's program I went to definitely was focused on, working in diverse urban settings, and so my whole framework for going into the classroom was very much about supporting children and families and kids of color. Not necessarily from that standpoint of looking at my own whiteness in relationship to the communities I was going to be working in. And once I had an experience, and so that was my framework for years that I, you know, really focused on, was making sure that I was, again, building rapport, reaching out to kids, reaching out to families. But I did have an experience professionally where I had a student I was working with who got involved in a conflict with a peer around race. And it didn't actually happen in my classroom. It happened outside of my classroom. But I was called in to sort of manage the situation, and to connect with the families. And it was a moment when, truthfully, I didn't really have the skills to handle it properly. And I was in a kind of vulnerable professional situation, so I didn't reach out for help. And the way that the whole process unfolded just did not go well. And it was a real sort of eye-opener and like heart-bursting open experience of being called in by the parent of this child and being told, like, I feel like you have bias against my child, you're not handling this properly. And what was fascinating to me at the moment was, not only was I terrified to be hearing that I had created a situation that this family perceived was really not only helping but harming this child through the process, but I also found myself in that seat of white fragility, like, so intensely, and not, kind of coming to the table in tears and not being able to unravel what was happening for me in that moment enough to just say, hey, I'm really sorry about the impact of that, and to show up and clean up and try to fix that problem in the moment. And that was, for me, kind of the beginning of my own process around my own identity, and being able to really commit to doing as much learning as I could about how I show up as a white teacher in the classroom. And after that, I went to the White Privilege Conference. I did SEED for a year. I participated in a white anti-racist educators group. And again, that's just another lens that I'm always considering in my work in the classroom. And for me, it was just really profound that I had, when your heart is in the place of wanting to help people, and then you find that because of a way you're being in relationship to a difficult conversation, and part of that is around just really not knowing and protecting that, trying to protect yourself in that knowing. That was a real eye-opener for me, that I never wanted that to happen again. And to then also hold a growth mindset, knowing that, we live in a very complex world and mistakes will happen, but for me, the real the learning came in knowing that when I needed help, I could ask for help and support in these situations that felt uncomfortable, and that, families are the experts, and there's never any reason for me to assume that I know how to fix a problem, and that, especially when it comes to identity work, that first and always reach out to families, and they are our allies, and figure out what is it when somebody has been microaggressed, when somebody's in a situation where they feel unsafe, that taking care, even if I don't know the right way to proceed, that it's not my place to manage, it's my place to find out, how can I help? Like, let me talk to you. What do you need? What does your family need? And to just not take responsibility in that situation to be in control, but to be an ally.